All right, guys. So obviously I'm not here. I don't know if they told you yesterday, but my husband's grandpa passed away. So I will be back on Thursday. We also have a test on Friday over the Pythagorean theorem. So it'll be that stuff and then the stuff that we're going to cover today and tomorrow. Thursday, we'll do all kinds of review. You can ask any questions you want. But Friday, we're taking that test because it's the last day of the 9 weeks. So just FYI there. Okay. So you should have your notes paper out on your desk. If I say pause the video, somebody please pause it and answer the question. And then after just a couple minutes, press play again and check your answer. So we saw a couple of these problems the other day when we were doing our GimKit, where it was distance on a coordinate plane, where we were finding the distance between 2 points. So it says sometimes finding the distance between points on a coordinate plane is as simple as looking and counting the number of units. So like on graph A, you can find the distance because this is just 1, 2, 3. So the distance is 3 units, but that's because it's a straight line. However, like on graph B, it's a diagonal distance. And we can't find that diagonal distance because it's not counting full boxes. So what we're going to do to find a diagonal distance on a coordinate plane, we can create our own right triangle. And we talked a little bit about that, and that how we're going to do that is by tracing the lines to make that into a triangle. So I typically will start at the highest point and go up or down until I'm in line with the second point. So this time I'm going to go down, and then I'll trace over. And that'll give me 2 straight line distances to use. Once we know those straight line distances, then we should be able to use our Pythagorean theorem to find that distance of that diagonal. And that diagonal distance right there that it's talking about, that is going to be our C, our hypotenuse, which means these 2 straight distances are our legs. So our A and our B. Doesn't matter which one it is. Okay. So like I said, you can count straight distances, but you cannot count diagonal distances. So what we'll do is we will connect to make a triangle from one point to the other point on straight distances, and then we should be able to count and use them. So like this straight distance is 1, 2, 3. This straight distance is 1, 2, 3, 4. So we would be able to use 3 and 4 to find our hypotenuse along with our Pythagorean theorem. Okay. All right, so we're going to go down here to the bottom to some examples here. So it says, use the Pythagorean theorem to find the distance between points A and B on each graph and round your answer to the nearest tenth. So tenth means 1 decimal place. All right, so on number 1, they want me to find the distance between A and B. So that's a diagonal distance. I can't count a diagonal distance, so I'm going to trace the lines to make this into a right triangle. Like I said, I typically start at the top point and trace it to the bottom point. So I'm going to go down until I'm in line with A. And then I'm going to draw a line over until I touch A. And then that way, I should be able to see my straight distances here and use those for that hypotenuse. So when I count here, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And this straight distance is 1, 2, 3, 4. And those are my legs. So those are my A and my B, and I'm finding my hypotenuse C. So I'll do my Pythagorean theorem. So A squared, so 4 squared, plus B squared, so 5 squared, equals C squared. So you can just use your calculator. So 4 squared, that's 16, plus 5 squared, 25. So 16 plus 25, that's 41. And I'm going to need my calculator to square root that. So when I square root that, the square root of 41, they said round to the nearest tenth, so 1 decimal, and we get 6.4. And it doesn't have any units on it, so we'll just say units. We should always label our answer if we can. All right, I'm going to do one more for you, and then I'm going to have you all do number 3 yourself. All right, so looking at number 2, I'm finding the distance between A and B, which is the diagonal distance. So I'm going to start at this top point and I'm going to go down and over to connect it to B. So I'm going to go down, 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 down. So I'm in line with B and then I'll go over. So that made my own right triangle there. All right, so this distance here is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And this distance here is 1, 2. And then this is my hypotenuse C. So this is my A and my B. So 7 squared plus 2 squared equals C squared. So that's 49 plus 4. So that's 53 equals my C squared. And then I'll be able to square root that 53. And remember, one decimal place. So on my calculator, I got 7.28, but that 8 in that hundredths place will round that 2 to a 3. So 7.3, and then we don't know the units, so we just say units. All right, I'm going to have whoever's in here go ahead and pause the video, work out number 3, and then unpause the video in just a couple minutes. All right, guys, so you should have connected A to B. And then I'm going to trace that, go down, 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 over, 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 and count. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This one's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right. So I'm going to put them in my formula. So 8 squared plus 8 squared equals the C squared. So I get 128 equals C squared. And then I'll square root that. And I get 11.3 units. Okay. Yeah, I'm recording a video for I have to do some bereavement. My husband's grandpa died.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, so that's okay. All right, I'll see you all. All right, so sorry. Okay, so sorry, we had somebody pop in. Sorry. All right, so 4 through 6 here. So it says use the graph and the Pythagorean theorem to find the distance between each of the points. Okay, so I'm going to zoom it out here for a second. So on number 4, they give me these two ordered pairs. So I'm going to go over here and plot them. So -6, 1. So I'm going to go -6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. +1. So that's -6, 1. Because remember, ordered pairs are x comma y. And then -4, 5. So I'm going to go left, 1, 2, 3, 4, -4, and then up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, and I'm supposed to be finding the distance between these 2 points. So I'm going to connect them, which is my hypotenuse, and then I'm going to trace my triangle there. So I'm going to go down, 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 over, and count all my straight distances. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, and I'm finding the hypotenuse C. So the only difference between the last problems and these is that right here, you have to graph your own 2 points. The other ones, I had them on there. All right, so my A and my B. So 2 squared plus 4 squared equals C squared. So that's 20. And then I'll square root that, square root 20, and it comes out as 4.47. And the other side round to 1 decimal, so that's what we're going to stick with. So this would be 4.5 units. All right, I'll do number 5, and I'm going to let you all do number 6. So -7, -7. So -7, -7. So right there. And +4, -3. Ooh, this one's a longer distance here. All right, and then I'm going to connect them. So down, 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 and then I'm going to go over. And then I'm going to count these straight distances. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Woo. All right. So I'll do A and B, find my C. So 11 squared plus 4 squared equals C squared. So it's 121 plus 16. So it's 137 equals C squared. And then I'll square root that. And one decimal place will round me to 11.7, and that's units. All right, go ahead and pause the video now and do number 6. All right, so you should have plotted a point at 0, 2, so left and right 0, but up 1, 2. And at positive 7, positive 7. Connected them, and then trace the straight. So down and over. All right, so that was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And find my hypotenuse C. So my A and my B. So 7 squared plus 5 squared equals C squared. So I get 74 equals C squared. And then I'll square root that. And I get 8.6 units. All right. Hopefully that makes sense to us. As we move down here, we're going to kind of switch gears just a little bit. It's going to kind of throw in some previous knowledge with this knowledge. So it says, find the perimeter of the trapezoid. So here's a picture of a trapezoid graph. Perimeter. Perimeter means that you add all the sides. Okay, so when I find perimeter, I'm adding up all the sides. Now, for the most part here, this one's not too bad because most of the sides are straight lines. However, I do have one side that's not a straight line, this one right here. So I'm going to have to make a triangle to be able to find this one. So what I did first when I do these is I go ahead and count my straights. So like this one would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This one would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then this one would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Check 6 and -6 is 12. Okay. All right. And then after that, I'm going to have to make a triangle out of what I have here. So I'm going to draw down and over. So this and over to make this triangle so that I can find that hypotenuse there. Now, I already know that this is 8, so this is 8. But this is not that whole length. So I'm going to look here. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this part's just 6 there. Okay. So I'm going to use the Pythagorean theorem along with the 8 and the 6 to find this distance, and I'm going to round to one decimal place. So I'm finding the hypotenuse C. So 8 squared plus 6 squared equals C squared. So that's 100. I'll square root that. And I'll find that diagonal distance is 10. So this is 10. All right. Once I find that, now I'm going to add up everything that I know. And I'm not going to double count. So I'm not going to count these because these were not part of the original figure. Just this figure right here. Okay. This is the only figure that you started with. So those are the only sides that you count. So that'll be 6 plus 10 plus 8 plus 12. And when I add those together, 12 plus 8 is 20, 20 plus 10 is 30, and 30 plus 6 is 36. So 36 units. All right, I'm going to give you all a little hint on this one right here. And I'm going to have them pause the video in just a second. But your hint is that you're actually going to have 2 triangles here that you're going to have to find. All right, go ahead and pause the video, find the perimeter of this figure. All right. So what I did was I counted my straights first. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's some three. Okay. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then here, this triangle is 1, 2, 3. And this triangle is 1, 2, 3, 4. This triangle's 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2. Okay, so good. If I can find one of the hypotenuse, I know that both of them are going to be the same because they have the same sides. All right, so I'm going to find this hypotenuse here. So these are my two legs, my A and my B. So 3 squared plus 4 squared equals C squared. So 9 plus 16, so that's 25 equals C squared. Square root, and 5 is my C. So this is 5. And because these legs are the same as these legs, this one is also 5. Okay, and then I'm going to add up all 4 sides of that original parallelogram there. So that's 5 plus 9 plus 5 plus 9. So that's 10 plus 18. So that's 28 units. All right, I'm going to go ahead and have them pause the video again. I want you to do number 9. So it's kind of taking everything into here and applying it. So you're probably going to need to pause it for like 5 minutes or so and then unpause and come back. All right, so it says in the graph below, point A represents Ashley's house, point B represents Bridget's house, and point C represents Carly's house. Each unit on the graph represents 2 miles. So that means 10 units is 20 miles. 5 units is 10 miles. So it says to the nearest 10th, how many miles is Ashley's house from Bridget's house? So Ashley's house to Bridget's house. They want to know how far that is. So I'm going to have to make that into a triangle. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This one's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So then I would do 5 squared plus 11 squared equals C squared. So that's 25 plus 121. So that's 146 equals C squared. Square root that. And I get 12.1, and that's units, not miles, 12.1 units. Because these are units right now. But we do know that the 1 unit is 2 miles. So then you should have done 12.1 times 2 and gotten 24.2, and that would be miles, MI miles. All right, the next one to the nearest 10th, how many miles is Ashley from Carly? So here's Ashley, here's Carly. I'm going to connect them. So this looks like it's 2. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So that was 2 squared plus 10 squared equals C squared. So that's 104 equals C squared. I'll square root 104 and get 10.2, and that's units. After I get that, I'll multiply it by 2 miles. So the distance from Ashley to Carly's house is 20.4 miles. All right. And then the last question is, whose house does Ashley live the closest to and by how many miles? So she obviously lives the closest to Carly's house because that's the farthest or shortest distance from Ashley, so Carly's. And then to find by how much, I'm going to subtract 24.2 minus 20.4. So they live 3.8 miles closer to Ashley, or Carly lives 3.8 miles closer to Ashley than Bridget does. All right, so once the video's done, you can go ahead and put your notes in your binder, and then you can go ahead and start on the assignment. If you finish it, you can give it to the sub. They can put it in our folder. And yeah, it does have a front and a back. All right, I will have another video tomorrow.